The Arc MIDI R2 by Fractal Design features massive airflow and highly flexible liquid cooling support. Click now to learn more. Welcome to my unboxing and overview, including some performance numbers of Gigabyte's GeForce GTX 780 Windforce Edition overclocked card. Much like other GTX 780s, this has a 384-bit memory bus. It has 3 gigs of RAM. It has a GK110 GPU, which means in terms of gaming performance, this thing is pretty much almost as ballin' as it gets. It only falls behind the GTX Titan in terms of performance, and it's really not by that much, unless you really need the 6 gigs of VRAM that you'll find on a GTX Titan. Inside the box, we find a little shiny Gigabyte logo covering up the card itself. Now, the first time I saw the GTX 780 Windforce was actually at Computex, and Gigabyte had an wow, there's no accessories in here. Interesting. And Gigabyte had an extremely impressive demo of their new redesigned Windforce Cooler running that basically showed that it's about as butt-kicking as possible while maintaining a dual slot form factor. So this is a trend that we've seen, even ASUS backing away from the triple slot form factors that they've had on previous DirectCU2 cards. Well, Gigabyte has gone ahead and done dual slot as well. So they are claiming up to 450 watts of heat dissipation with the redesigned Windforce Cooler. So they're using a triple fan layout in order to achieve that, as well as a combination of 8mm and 6mm heat pipes that you can see actually extend away from here. I'll try to get you guys a better angle here so you can check that out. Maybe we'll do this with B-roll, but that go away from the GPU itself and then carry it out into 2 slightly different aluminum fin arrays. And what's different about them is this. This one here at the back of the card has no metal backing, so it's a straight path. This fan and then the right-hand side of this fan are blowing directly down onto the PCB in a way that is extremely positive, because this is right here where the VRM is. So that's where voltage is converted from the 12-volt power that comes in at the back of the card in those from those dual 8-pin PCI Express connectors, converts that into something that the GPU and the memory and the other components on board can use. These components are often the hottest running part of a graphics card, even including the GPU. So having direct active cooling over top of them is excellent. Now for the rest of the card, check out over here. What Gigabyte's done is they've used a sort of like a unisync type design. So they've used a large full cover design that is able to make direct contact with not only the GPU, but also the RAM. And then they've put what they're calling their triangle cooler concept on here. And what this does is a couple of things. So it redirects the airflow. So airflow from these 2 fans here is still going down towards the card, but because there's direct contact between the heatsink and the components underneath, the air doesn't pass right through. So what happens is they're using this triangle shape, which is kind of shaped like this from the side, if you guys can kind of imagine that, to direct airflow down towards the PCI Express slot. This should help with motherboard cooling a little bit, as well as up here away from the card itself. Now you can see at the back of this card, we're going to find our I/O. So we've got 2 DVI ports, DisplayPort and HDMI. So that supports up to NVIDIA 3D Vision Surround with 3 displays, plus an auxiliary display, as well as some ventilation. That's not going to be exhausting a whole lot of air. With this cooler design is going to dissipate the air inside your case, so you're going to want to make sure that you have adequate case cooling in order to take care of that. Like all GK110 GPUs, it uses PCI Express 3.0 16X at the bottom of the card, and then on the back we find that it is not a huge departure from the reference PCB, meaning that it is a bit of a chore to remove the stock cooler, although you could do it with looks like about 7 or 8 screw removals. So if you did want to custom cool this card, whether it's with water cooling or some kind of aftermarket cooler, you could do that. But I can't really say that I'd recommend that, given that Gigabyte already provides an outstanding cooler on it. Now, in terms of overclocking performance, we put it head-to-head against a reference card in order to find out, well, okay, it comes with a higher stock clock by over 100 megahertz on boost. So this is a 1 gigahertz card when it's running at its boost clocks. Part of this is because of Gigabyte's aggressive BIOS tuning, and part of it it is because of the better cooler that it has than stock versus, well, I shouldn't say better because the reference cooler is really sexy looking, but this one is going to provide better cooling. And so what we did is we took them and we put them head to head in order to find out, okay, so yeah, it's, you know, it's quiet, it looks great, blah, 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 all that stuff, but does it actually perform better? And when we overclocked the card, we did get slightly better performance, as you can see in some of the benchmark graphs that I'm going to be overlaying here. However, it's not an enormous, huge difference or anything like that, but if you're not comfortable overclocking, it does come with a significantly higher stock clock as well. Thank you for checking out my unboxing and overview/review of the Gigabyte GTX 780 Windforce graphics card. Don't forget to subscribe for more unboxings like this. Don't forget to leave a comment under the video. Tell me what you think. Is the GTX 780 the go-to card these days for very high performance gaming? Titan costs so much more and 770 doesn't perform nearly as well, so it's kind of starting to look that way. And if so, what do you think of Gigabyte's offering? Like the video if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it, I don't care. And don't forget to subscribe.